In a sun-drenched village, where flowers bloomed in a riot of color, lived a young woman named Cynthia. She was the village's jewel, a vision of beauty so profound it seemed to capture the very essence of the sunlight itself. When she walked, heads would turn, and whispers of admiration would follow her like a gentle breeze. Cynthia knew she was beautiful. She carried this knowledge not as a secret, but as a crown, her chin held high, her smile a carefully crafted masterpiece that acknowledged her admirers but never truly reached them. The world was her audience, and she was its most celebrated star. Her days were a graceful procession through winding paths, past thatched roof huts and smiling faces. The villagers would greet her with awe, their eyes reflecting the perfection she saw in her own reflection every morning. "Good morning, Cynthia," they would chime, their voices filled with genuine delight. She would offer a regal nod in return, a slight, practiced smile playing on her lips. Her heart swelled, not with warmth, but with pride. She was set apart, an exquisite painting in a world of simple sketches, and she reveled in the distance that her beauty created. One afternoon, while exploring the forgotten corners of the old village market, Cynthia's eyes fell upon a peculiar object tucked away in a dusty stall. It was a mirror, but unlike any she had ever seen. Its frame was carved from dark, gnarled wood, intricate vines and leaves twisting around the edges as if frozen in time. The glass itself was thick and held a strange liquid depth. Drawn by its mysterious allure, she purchased it, imagining how it would look in her cozy hut, another testament to her impeccable taste. Back in the privacy of her home, she hung the ornate mirror on the wall. She stood before it, expecting to see the familiar, flawless face she knew so well. And at first, that's exactly what it showed her. The reflection was perfect. Her long, dark hair cascaded over her shoulders, her eyes sparkled like polished gems, and her skin was as smooth as river stone. She smiled, satisfied. The mirror was worthy of her. But the next day, something was different. As she gazed into the glass, she noticed a subtle shift. A faint, almost imperceptible hardness had crept into her eyes, a slight tightening around her lips that hinted at something other than serene confidence. She leaned closer, her brow furrowing in confusion. It must be a flaw in the glass, she thought, or perhaps the light was playing tricks on her. She spent the better part of an hour polishing the mirror, rubbing the glass until it gleamed, certain that the imperfection would vanish. Yet, with each passing day, the reflection grew more unsettling. The hardness in her eyes deepened into a glint of disdain. The slight tightening of her lips morphed into a faint, almost invisible sneer. The face in the mirror was still hers, but it was being twisted by an invisible hand, warped by an ugliness she couldn't comprehend. She started to see flashes of moments from her day. There she was, walking through the village, but in the reflection, her graceful nod to an elderly woman was replaced by an impatient, dismissive flick of her head. The gentle smile she gave to a group of children became a condescending smirk. Cynthia became obsessed. The mirror was no longer a source of validation, but a tormentor. She would spend hours staring into it, her confusion turning to anger, then to a creeping, chilling fear. Was the mirror cursed, or was it simply old and distorted? She tried different lighting, hung it in different places, but the result was always the same. The reflection grew colder, more arrogant, more isolated. It was showing her a version of herself she refused to recognize, a stranger wearing her face, whose heart seemed to be turning to stone. The suspense coiled in her stomach like a serpent. The mirror knew a secret about her, a secret she didn't even know herself. The day of the annual village festival arrived. The air was thick with the scent of roasted corn and wildflowers, and the sound of laughter and music filled every corner. It was a time of joyous celebration, a night when the entire village came together as one. In previous years, Cynthia had been the center of attention, a radiant queen reigning over the festivities. But this year, a dark preoccupation clouded her mind: the mirror. As the sun began to set, casting long, dramatic shadows across the village, Cynthia excused herself. She told everyone she needed to retrieve a shawl, but her steps led her straight back to her hut. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She had to look, just one more time. She needed to prove to herself that the monstrous visions were a lie. She pushed open the door and stood before the mirror. The faint, festive music from outside seemed to fade into a distant hum. She took a deep breath and looked. The face that stared back was no longer subtly altered. It was a horrifying caricature, a monster born from her own vanity. The eyes were small and cruel, burning with arrogance. The mouth was twisted into a grotesque, permanent sneer of contempt. The beautiful skin was now sallow and marked by lines of pride and disdain. But it was what she saw behind the monstrous figure that shattered her completely. The reflection didn't show the inside of her hut, it showed the village festival, vibrant and full of life. It showed the villagers dancing, laughing, and sharing stories around a bonfire. And in the midst of this warmth and community, the monstrous reflection of herself stood utterly, terrifyingly alone. The mirror was not showing her a distorted image, it was showing her soul. It was reflecting the ugly truth of a heart that had chosen pride over connection, admiration over love. This was her true self, a lonely monster of her own making. A strangled gasp escaped her lips, and the world spun into a vortex of horror. The vision broke her. A wave of revulsion and grief washed over her, so powerful it brought her to her knees. With a choked sob, she turned and fled from the hut, from the mirror, from the monster she had become. She ran, not with her usual poised grace, but with the frantic desperation of someone escaping a nightmare. Tears streamed down her face, blurring the dancing lights of the festival. She stumbled into the heart of the celebration, her carefully constructed facade completely crumbled. For the first time, she didn't see a crowd of admirers. She saw people. She saw the kind eyes of the elderly woman she had dismissed, now filled with concern for her. She saw the children she had smirked at, their faces open and curious. Someone offered her a hand, another a comforting word. In their simple, genuine gestures, she felt a wave of warmth she had never known, a connection that her beauty had always kept at bay. That night, Cynthia did not stand apart. She joined the circle, shared in the stories, and allowed her tears to be ones of release, not sorrow. She learned what it meant to be part of something, to find joy not in being looked at, but in seeing others. Days turned to weeks. A new beauty began to blossom in Cynthia, one that wasn't just skin deep. Her smile now reached her eyes, which sparkled with a newfound warmth. Her laughter, once rare, was now frequent and full of genuine joy. One quiet morning, she found herself standing before the old ornate mirror one last time. She hesitated, her heart beating a little faster. She took a deep breath and looked. The mirror reflected a woman who was still beautiful, her features just as lovely as before. But the reflection was different. The hardness was gone, the sneer was gone. In their place, her eyes shone with kindness, humility, and a deep, radiant warmth. It was the reflection of a woman who had discovered that true beauty isn't a crown to be worn, but a light that shines from within. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing for more tales that explore the heart. We'll see you next time.